Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Novel, and welcome back to yet another crispy clean YouTube video. So guys, in today's video I'm going to be going over and showing you guys the best Apex Legends Season 5 settings. Now before we get into it, you need to know that everything you take from this video, you need to practice and apply and explore to see what best fits you as a player. I will leave timestamps in the description so you can navigate your way through the video. So if you gain something from this video, why not slap the booty cheeks out of the like button? If you're new to the channel, why not sub and hit the notification bell? So with all that being said, let's not waste any more time and let's get straight into the video. So guys, we're going to be going over to the settings menu, and you will see the four aisles that I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar with, which is the gameplay, controller, video, and audio aisles. So guys, you need to know something. You could take the most professional Apex player settings and apply it, but it will not work for you if you do not practice it. I mean, in firing range and in game, see how it works for you. You need to practice and see. Now, I won't be going over everything in gameplay because a lot of it is based on your own personal preference. So whatever you take, go in game, practice it, use it, and see if it works for you. Interact prompt style. The reason why I have mine on compact is because it shows less information, and it literally that says on the right hand side, display more or less information. I think when it's default, it shows too much information and it takes up a lot of the screen. Compact makes it a bit, less to see and just easier to read and stuff like that. In fact, you don't even read much, you just see button prompts. Now, crosshair damage feedback. Now mine is on X with shield icon because look, in most of my experience of playing first-person shooters, every time I get a kill or when I'm hitting my shots, that little X will always appear that will let me know that I'm hitting my shots. And I personally feel that if you don't have this activated, then it's not that you won't know that you're hitting your shots, it'll just be a lot more difficult to know that you're hitting your shots, you know what I mean? So I personally would definitely have the crosshair damage feedback. I would have that on X with the shield icon, and my damage numbers are on stacking. As you can see on the right hand side, it says show combined number of all recent damage. The reason why I have it like that is because if you have it on anything else like floating or both, the reason why I don't have it on floating is because when you have it on floating, it kind of shows too many numbers at one time. In fact, I could show you guys right now. Let me quickly put it on floating, head down, and show you guys why I wouldn't prefer it. Now, when you have it on floating, this is exactly what it's going to look like when you shoot at your target. You see, there's a lot of numbers to keep track of, especially when you're hitting your shots. Not with the wingman, because the wingman is not a rapid fire weapon, but a lot of the times in Apex Legends you will be using a lot of rapid fire weapons. Highly doubt you won't be using anything else other than that. So it's a lot of numbers to keep track of, bro. And this is what it looks like when you have it on stacking, which is my personal preference. You see how the numbers stack up in one place and it gives one final result number at the end. You see it said 174 damage, right? It's just easier. It's easier to look at, much easier to look at. So my preferred is have it on stacking and not floating. Don't even have it on both. It's just a lot to look at. We're trying to make this simple and better for you guys. Now, if you go to ping opacity, things like ping opacity, obituaries, minimap rotation, weapon auto cycle, auto sprint, that's all like your own personal preference. Now, can we just talk about auto sprint real quick before we move on? Now, auto sprint is really good to have on because in Apex, movement is life. If you keep moving, you will obviously survive. You will be able to dodge shots a lot more easier. So have your auto sprint on. It's definitely something you'll have to get used to, especially if you're playing on controller, because on controller you have to kind of push down on the analog stick in order to run if you have this off. But if your setting is on, you just have to push forward on your analog stick and your character will run automatically. Now, double tap to sprint. Look, bros, we're not playing Minecraft here, okay? Just keep it off. All right, we're not not playing no other game, we're playing Apex. We don't need double tap to sprint. Things like income damage feedback, I have mine on 3D, but like I said, things like these is your personal preference, right? Double tap sprint, income damage feedback, taking damage closes death box menu, streamer mode, usage sharing. Now there's okay, quickly before we move on, there's been a lot of talk about streamer mode. Now the Apex devs have been saying that they want to, you know, adjust streamer mode and just make it a bit better, because I remember back of my Janks made a post on Twitter asking the devs about streamer mode, because it's not really useful at the moment, but the devs are working on something about that. But moving on, usage sharing, colorblind mode, subtitles, stuff like this, it's all your own personal preference, right? But I think the main things to focus on, if you want my advice, is your interact prompt style, your crosshair damage feedback, damage numbers, your auto sprint, and that's pretty much it. Focus on those things mainly, especially because it's in your gameplay. Those things will have an impact as you play in game. Now moving on to controller. Now, button layout. This is probably what most of you guys actually came here for. So you go into button layout. Most of you guys, I wouldn't say most of you guys, I'm just going based on assumption, play on default. Now, default is your typical Call of Duty style, you know, settings, stuff like that. If you look over at, you know, it says X to jump, circle to crouch, and triangle to cycle weapon, just the basic stuff. Now, I was experimenting a lot with this, and now to make it easier on you guys, I would recommend start on evolved. Now the reason why I say this is because when you make your own customized controls, it can get difficult to learn, especially if you want to do it at an efficient, fast pace. So if you want to change your controls, I highly suggest that you start at evolved and see how it works. Evolved is jump is with L1, melee is with circle, and X your tactical ability, and your crouch is the right analog stick. Now the reason why it's all over the place is because the evolved controller preset allows you to keep your thumbs on the joystick as much as possible whilst doing other things like you know, jumping, sprinting, stuff like that. Especially if you have your auto sprint on, it's really beneficial. But you see, it doesn't allow you to keep your thumbs on the joysticks at all times. As you see, you would need to use your tactical ability and your melee. Now, when I was busy messing around with my own custom controls, my jump I put as L1, same thing as evolved. My crouch, I put it as my right analog stick. My interact, pick up and reload, I put as R1, because just like I said, I don't want to take my thumbs off the joysticks. I want to constantly, that's how it's going to impact your movement. These settings, my own personal customized settings, I'm giving to you guys. So take this down, try it out for yourself, practice with it, and see how it works. It's definitely much more faster. You'll be able to loot faster, you'll be able to move and just have a better way of playing Apex Legends, you know, especially if your interact, your pick up and reload is R1, because you won't be taking your thumb off of the joystick to tap square. Now your tactical ability will be X, because obviously jump and interact, pick up, reload has been replaced, but it's not actually like that much of movement. The only times you'll be taking your thumb off the joystick is when you're pressing circle, triangle, and X. Reason being is because you need to switch weapons with triangle, you're gonna melee with circle, and you're going to use your tactical ability with X. And now as you see, it says ultimate ability right here on the bottom right hand corner. You will see that it says use X and square to use your your ultimate ability. Now these are the only times that you'll really be taking your thumb off of the joystick, but it's not that much of a difference. A lot of the times you will be using your jump, crouch, and your interact buttons. Now keep these in mind. These are very important, because it's going to impact your movement, and it's, like I said, it's going to impact your looting. So take this controller preset down. These are my own personal customized controller preset, especially because I don't use a scuff controller. So take it down, see how it works. Now guys, you have to understand that not everything works for everybody. You have to practice with this, and it's going to take time to get used to, because it's very advanced settings in my opinion, especially for your controller. If you do not have a scuff controller, then this in my opinion is the perfect controller preset. So take it down and see how it works for you guys. Right, stick layout for me is default. I don't know, bro, why would you want to change that? I don't understand. Interact reload button is tap to use and reload, because I don't want to hold, you know, it feels weird. I just want to be able to just tap it, you know what I'm saying, just tap it and move on with my life. The crouch button, I have it on hold because it allows you to bunny hop, and it allows me to use my heels better and faster. And the reason why, if you go back to the button layout, you will see that my use health shield kit is on the left analog stick. This comes in handy, especially when you're sliding and you want to pop heals. That is when your crouch button hold will come in handy. I'll give you guys an example, just so you can see exactly what I mean. Grab this body, grab this. What did I pick up? An arc star out, right? So now for me, what I would usually do is, because like my crouch button is on hold right now, I'm holding it, you know, and if I let go of it, my character stands up. And I don't like the fact that some people have to tap it in order to, you know, crouch. It just feels too much. It really feels too much. So if I'm sprinting and I slide, oh, 1 second, if I'm sprinting, I slide, I can just pop a heal. Like, it's just easy for me. I can bunny hop as well, you know. It just really helps with the movement. See, I'm showing you guys firsthand. You can see that when you hold down your crouch button, it's just a lot easier, a lot more simpler. It really helps with the movement. So I highly suggest that keep it on hold, but like I said, it's definitely going to take time to get used to. So keep practicing with it. Definitely keep practicing with it and see how it works for you as a player. Now, moving on, my aim button is hold. I don't know why you'd have a toggle. If you have it on toggle, you're weird. Okay, you're weird. I'm sorry, forgive me, but you're weird. Now, L2 and R2 button dead zones. This is how sensitive your L2 and R2 buttons are when pressed, and it says that on the right hand side of the screen. Mine is on max. It's just my own personal preference. I want to put as little effort as I can into pressing my L2 and R2 buttons, right? Menu cursor speed, that's entirely up to you. 100% entirely up to you. Look sensitivity. Okay, now, before I came onto Apex, I was a massive Call of Duty player. I played Call of Duty all the time, so my sensitivities were always high. They were extremely high. Now, this isn't that high. A lot of players, especially pro players, have their sensitivity even higher, probably max, right? But for me, my look sensitivity is at super high 6. Obviously, I want to look around as fast as I possibly can, especially when I want to flick over, you know what I'm saying? Just like do the flick thing. Flick over, it works, you know. I can just flick over real quick. This guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. You see, flicking, it works. And now my look sensitivity for the ADS is at very high 5, just 1 notch lower than 6, because when I aim, I still want to be able to hit shots and keep my cursor focused on one person at all times, no matter what direction I'm moving. And I feel if I have it too fast, I'm going to miss my shots, you know what I'm saying? So definitely, that's exactly why I have it 1 notch lower, so I can still hit my shots whilst I'm moving, whilst I'm looking 100%. So yeah, dude. Excuse my terrible aiming. I'm not trying to deceive y'all, alright? I'm not trying to deceive y'all, but it just works for me. And if you want to try it out, give it a shot and see if it works for you as well. But I'm letting you know one more time, when you change your look sensitivity, it's not going to feel the same. You have to get used to it. You have to practice with it. Otherwise, you will flop. This is, if you change absolutely anything in your settings, you need to practice with it, right? Otherwise, you just won't make it. Anyway, moving on to pro optic settings now. I know a lot of pro players always emphasize how important it is to change your pro optic ADS sensitivity, but for me personally, I wouldn't emphasize it, because the super high 6 for the look sensitivity and my ADS is perfectly fine for me, and it works when I'm aiming with any kind of optic. I don't want specific sensitivities when I'm aiming with different kinds of optics. I'm perfectly fine with it being very high 5, especially when I'm aiming down sights. So if you guys want to experiment with pro optic ADS sensitivity, by all means go ahead and do it, but I suggest that you don't, because it's going to take even more getting used to, especially when you pick up different optics. It takes a lot of time to adjust, and you have to practice even more, which means put in even more effort in the firing range, which means less game time. So if you want to go ahead and mess with this, I encourage it. But if you just want to have your normal look sensitivity be super high, whatever the case may be, and your ADS be whatever the case may be, then definitely do it. But if you want to take 6 and 5, go for it, but don't mess around with your pro optic ADS sensitivity. It's going to take a lot. It's definitely going to take a lot. Anyway, moving on to response curve. Now, response curve is kind of how the camera feels when you're turning. Like it says on the right hand side, determines how the stick's analog input is used to turn your view. It's not used for when you're just looking around. It means when you're turning left, right, up, and down. I don't exactly know how else to put this to you guys, but the reason why I have mine on steady, it says on the right hand side a balance of firm control and fast aim, and I highly suggest that you keep it on steady unless you came from playing Titanfall 2. If you played a lot of Titanfall 2, then the classic option is the one for you. And if you are a person who is really focused on aiming down sights accuracy, the fine aim is for you. And if you're a person who's really focused on quick turns and just having a good camera angle no matter where you look, the high velocity is the one for you. But for me, I'm focused, like it says there, firm control and fast aim. Whilst I'm aiming, I want to have as much control over what I'm aiming at, what I'm aiming with as I can. I want to have control. Control is a very big thing for me, especially when you're aiming. It's going to have a huge impact on your aim. So I highly suggest keep it on steady, 100%. Right guys, moving on to look dead zone. Now look dead zone and movement dead zone are two different things, but they do go hand in hand, because look dead zone is for your right analog stick and movement dead zone is for your left analog stick. Now look dead zone is basically the stick drift and the stillness of your camera whilst you're aiming, right? So in fact, not even just aiming, just your camera in general. So I have mine set to small because I found that when I set it to small, I got almost little to no stick drift, as well as a smoother control, and it just allowed for better control whether I'm ADSing or whether I'm just free firing without ADS. So my suggestion, keep it on small. It feels smooth, it feels good, and it really does have a big impact on your aim. Now moving on to movement dead zone. Now guys, the same thing goes for the movement dead zone. If you have a more older controller and there's a lot of stick drift, I highly suggest that you put it on large. But if that is not the case and you don't face that much of stick drift, keep it on small. It's definitely the way to go. You'll just have more smoother control over gunfights, and smoother control over your movement in general. Right guys, moving over to advanced look controls or custom look controls. Now I have to say something before we actually get into this quick story time. Now for most of you who know the YouTuber Adele Touche, you guys could go check out his channel. He's a great, and I mean a great, Apex Legends player on console, but he does play on PC anyway. He did mess around with advanced look controls for a minute, and in the beginning he said it was good. He even tweeted on Twitter, he was like, nah, it's great and it's definitely the move. It got a lot of positive responses, but as he kept using it, I think it was a few days later, he changed it back and he put his advanced settings off. He says because it completely messed with his look controls, and it in turn fact does not make you a better player. Now if you guys do not believe me, you can go and search it for yourself. Unfortunately, I am not able to find the tweet at this time, so I cannot actually put proof on screen for you guys, but it is your choice whether to believe what I'm saying or not. Trust me, advanced and custom look controls are very sensitive and difficult to play around with. It's better to work with already what you have and make yourself a better player with normal look sensitivity and ADS sensitivity, movement dead zone, look dead zone, things like that. Work and perfect those settings instead of having to come over to advanced look controls. So that is that, and we're going to be moving on right now. Now, if we move on to video, I highly suggest that your field of view is kept at the max, because it just allows you to see so much more of your surroundings without really having to turn and actually, you know, look around. So I highly suggest have your field of view as high as you can get it. Mine is on 110. If I go out of my settings, you can see I can see a lot more without having to look around all that much, and I'm going to show you the difference. It is a massive difference, right? If I go back into settings, if I put my field of view all the way down to what it used to be, I think it was like 70 or something like that, I press apply. Can you see? I can't see as much as what I used to when my field of view was much higher. You know, it looks weird to me, you know? It looks weird to me, and yeah, it's just not good. So highly suggest keep your field of view as high as you possibly can. Now, your sprint to view shake, this is it's to give a realistic effect. Now, when you're sprinting, you will notice, if it's on normal, you will notice a little bit of a shake on your screen just to give it a bit of a realistic feel, especially with the movement feel. That was distracting to me, so I put mine on minimal, and you'll see that when I sprint, there isn't really much of a camera shake on my screen. So I'm going to show you the difference when I have it on normal. Now, it is very difficult to see, but when you have your sprint view shake on, there is a bit of like a camera shake bopping animation that happens whilst you're sprinting. I personally found this distracting and unnecessary, so I suggest keep it on minimal. It's just gonna improve your camera work so much. Moving on to audio. Now, I have everything at 100% except the music volume, because I want to hear mostly my environment. I want to hear everything around me. I just want to hear everything except for the music, so I keep that at 75%, because it does sound a little bit awkward when you don't have music. It sounds, how do I say this, dull and very quiet. So lobby music volume was also at 25%. I don't really care too much about music. Your audio settings will also really depend on the kind of headsets you have. If you have headsets or if you have earphones, it really will depend on the, you know, headset that you're using. So controller settings and gameplay settings is mostly dependent on you as a player. You guys have to see what works for you, because you can't just take every, you know, settings video and apply it to yourself and think that you're gonna become some Apex god in like the next few days. The moment you change your controller settings, you have to understand that you need to get used to it. You need to hop in the firing range and you need to start practicing every single day, and you yourself will see an improvement, guaranteed 110%. Now, if you guys want me to do like a movement video, like a movement guide, just showing you the different like movement strategies for Apex Legends, just drop a comment down, bro. Let me know if you guys want to see that. So if you guys have made it this far into the video, I want to say thank you so much for watching the video. Yeah, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, I will see all of you guys in the next video. Much love, everyone. Keep it 100, and I'm out.